The Slave Auction Massacre, written by lesbian writer-lover 69. I remember that day. It was a tropical planet. You could walk outside and see a very peaceful uptown world. But if you walk further down, take a flight of stairs and see the shaded underbelly, slave traders, hunters, collectors, you name it. The scum were there in plain sight. No one did anything until humans were released. Slaves were a common commodity. Emphasis on were. My commanding officer was a headhunter. Not a name you take lightly or casually. He walked around without a care in the world, fooling onlookers that he was a human, but was just like them. Sick, twisted, and corrupt. His acting skills could have won in many awards, not like he would care. He led me and his dog that was in a cage, a simple setup. Who wouldn't want an Alabaster Drakehound? I remember the smell of the slave auctions. Clean. Too clean. They don't want to sell damaged goods. Girls. Boys. I was sick when I saw some selling babies. I could feel the disgusting leers traders had as they inspected their purchases. I could hear some screaming from a room, followed by a thundering crack. I saw what we call dragon elves. We humans called them that because they look like elves, except they had two dragon-like horns in various shapes on their heads. I must say I was jealous, but I heard that if you ground their horns into powder, it makes one hell of a drug. I remember hearing a child scream in pain as if old Volkath ripped her horn off barehanded. I remember the blood trickling. I also saw a collector grab a pair of siblings and said to have them stuffed, that they will decorate his front pavilion. My rage grew and I slowly reached for my pistol. The headhunter grabbed my hand and stayed my sidearm. We can help them, but not now. Not yet, he said with a cold grimace. I know that tone, the tone of a man who wants to scream in rage and anger. We were led into a room where a sleazebag slug of a, whatever they're called, inspected the dog. He was impressed. It seemed like a war dog, judging by his battle scars. The headhunter wanted the highest bid, minimum of at least 20,000 credits. The sleazeball approved and put the cage in the dock in the middle of the square with all other rare pets. Or should I say, people. I saw people bid frame money like it's dirt, just to have a chance with my friend's dog. He looks happy, knowing his dog was worth a high price. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder and whispered, 2 minutes till we start. I just got word. I never felt more happy. I got to my position and pulled out a remote. I looked down on my watch as the last 10 seconds counted down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, the cage loosened and my friend's dog, oh, I guess I should call him Razor at this point. Well, Razor was taught to hunt and eat, but only when his master whistled. He jumped down and walked to my master, his teeth bared, his maw filled with acid. The headhunter whistled and motioned to the slave traders and collectors. Feast, my little puppy. Following a shower of blood of various colours, a large booming sound emanated from afar. Enemy guards ran towards us, wielding blasters and shock whips, but they were too late. The booming sound was in fact a planet-wide EMP blast coming from planted installations all over the planet. 1 month of planning, all for this moment. I saw their blasters no longer function. Suddenly, me and the headhunter drew our weapons. He drew out an LMG. I drew out a pistol. The guards laughed, saying our weapons were useless with the EMP. The galaxy seems to have forgotten. Humans use guns, not blasters. We began to cut them down. They were many, but we were discipled. They had no weapons to use against us, and I carried more than the usual amount of ammo, just in case. I must say though, that Razor was a huge help. Thick skin, armoured hide, acidic spit. What more could you ask from a dog from a death world? As soon as the guards were dealt with, it was just us, slavers and slaves. They begged us, trying to buy our services, some even offering their own slaves for us to spare them. I told them, sorry, but in our business, orders are orders, as we slowly began to gut them alive, leaving their entrails on the floor. As we did this, the slaves watched. I think I saw one crack a smile. One was a crab-like race, and I do love myself some seafood. So I walked on over and asked him some seafood questions. I told him, we humans absolutely love crab meat. Me especially, growing up a fisherman. He looked towards me as I pulled out a knife. You can't do that. It's illegal by galactic law. To which I replied, then explained why I saw you dining on a Varixni hatchling, still growing out of his egg mould just a few hours ago. I remember the delicious crack of his shell, his bubble screams. I remember using a nearby electro whip to cook his arm as he watched his arm turn a delicious red. I grabbed a pair of pliers from a dead slaver and cracked his arm open, showing his delicious white meat. I began to eat it slowly and in front of him. I even offered him a piece. Of course, the slaves could smell the meat. They looked hungry, and I was about to oblige. The headhunter looked at me and said, no leftovers, as his dog looked jealously at me cooking. I nodded and coerced the slaves to join me in my merry feast. It was enlightening. I was sure the fucker died from shock and trauma before he died from being cooked. But then again, who am I to complain when a good meal is presented before me? By the time we were done, nothing but a cracked and empty shell, one more dead to the pile. After that fine meal, we escorted the slaves in public square. A human television crew landed and began reporting what happened in the undermarket. I chuckled to this day.
Emergency news report. Slave operations in council territory? What have they not been telling us?
I guess after that story, I should tell you why we had such orders to carry out. When humanity was discovered, the Galactic Council at large thought they would join them in their slaving practices, considering we also practiced it in our own history. Little did they know that we actually moved on from that. We first tried to do it the civilized way. We made it known the humans do not agree with the slave practices that the Council was conducting. We pressured a movement where every species deserves equal rights. The Council scoffed at us, saying, we already live in a world where everyone gets equal treatment. After a colony ship of humans went missing, with some of their body parts ending up in the slave traders' basket, it was the first and last straw. Now slavery is abolished. It's still being practiced in some rebel systems, but by majority, most kids will never experience it again. And that's a promise we intend to keep.